Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Cactus Lounge. I am Donna Reed. I traveled Up with People in 1976. Most of you know that who are watching this. And today, my guest just turned around, changed her mind.
Sorry.
I, I get that. So, this is Liza. Liza, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody and tell everybody when you first traveled?
Sure. Liza Fischer was my maiden name, Robson, and I traveled in 1982, Cast C.
1982.
And that's the only cast I ever traveled in.
Okay, I only traveled once also 1 year. I did some costumes and I served on the board of governors, so I did some other things. So, when did you like learn about Up with People? Did you see a show the year before, or tell me a little bit about that?
This is a little embarrassing, but I was always involved in singing and dancing things in high school and all the way up, right? And so I'm in college and I'm at Colorado State University in Fort Collins, Colorado. And I get a call from my dad. My dad was in the ready mix concrete business, and he was in, I think, Houston at the time at a convention, right? Concrete
Yeah, yeah,
convention.
yeah.
And he calls me up and he said, "You got to get on a plane and come down here." Why is that? Because I just saw the most fabulous group and you'd be perfect for it. What are they called? Up with People.
Oh my God.
Dad, they travel around the country. I promise when they come to Colorado, I'll go see them. Okay. He just had no idea what they were, and he just thought it would be perfect. And I'm like, okay. So literally within about a month, I think 1981, I had a sorority sister. I can't think of her first name. I can think of her sister. Anyway, she was in 1981 cast. Um, and they came to Estes Park, and there was probably 8 or 10 of us from the house that went to see her in the show. And of that, we had 4 people from my house that ended up traveling in 1982.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's really cool. But it's so fun that your dad thought that that would be a neat thing for you. So, did Up with People perform at the concrete convention?
they did.
Oh my gosh. That is a riot. I before real estate, I booked professional speakers for a few years. So it's and then we kind of went into this time frame like back in the mid 2000s, like 2005 or whatever, where people couldn't afford the big names. So then they were having somebody from their industry do it or whatever. But this is the first time in the interviews I've done where that's the way. One of the best stories is somebody in Sweden. I mean, like, where'd you see a show, whatever? They picked up a hitchhiker
Oh,
and the hitchhike, yeah. And that like ended up, and I was like, what? Random and interesting. So,
yeah,
all right.
absolutely.
So, and then I got your name from Rick Faubert.
Correct. He was in our
And
cast.
he was in your cast. Was he doing staff at that point, or was that his first year? Okay.
No, he was doing staff at that point.
Okay. Okay. And did you guys travel, like I'm going to say travel the world because as a bicentennial girl, I traveled the States predominantly with a little bit of time in Mexico. So did your tour take you all over?
Yeah, so in 82, 83, we did kind of the blue collar tour in the South and came up through the Midwest and then I think we ended up first half in Montana. And then second half, the show we did Northern Europe.
Okay. Okay. So Scandinavia
Yeah,
essentially.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, England, we
Oh,
had England, Denmark, 1 or 2 towns in Germany, Sweden. I don't know that we were in Norway, but yeah,
how
about that
fun.
area. Yeah,
And
it
I
was
haven't
just
talked to
really
that.
interesting because in England, we were fairly new to England.
Right.
And they're very prim and proper.
Hmm.
They don't go crazy, right? And the same year,
Unlike
the same
Mexico. Yeah.
exactly. The same year that I traveled, we had 2 casts that went to Mexico. And so the stories that we heard, they were like, rock stars and
Yeah.
felt was interesting.
I don't know. It'd be really interesting to know from an archives perspective in history how many went to England because I don't hear that a lot.
Right.
Everybody seems to have gone to Italy, Belgium. I mean, there's certain places that just were
Yep.
recurring. So. Interesting. All right. So when I traveled, we didn't really have a name for our show. We were finishing up the 1975 tour or whatever. Did your show have a name?
Oh my goodness. I can't think. I'm sure it did. I can't, something beat. Um,
Common Beat?
I don't remember. I
Okay.
don't remember.
What's a song from your show that you remember? Tell me a quirky one that not everybody knows.
Well, someone else's eyes was one of them.
Mm,
What color is God's skin? We did the 60s medley.
60s.
And
Okay.
60s was my favorite. Oh my goodness, my favorite. I still sing it to this day.
Yeah.
And every once in a while, you'll see me kind of doing, the dance in the corner or whatever, just sort of running it through my head, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, all right. So, part of the reason that Rick suggested, oh, let me ask you first. You are married. Do you have children?
I am. I have one son, Matthias, or Maddie, we call him, and he is 25. I'm taking him back to college tomorrow in Vermont.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah,
Okay.
and I'm in
And
Minnesota right
and
now.
you're in
If he goes to
Minnesota.
school.
That's
Yeah.
right. I usually ask people where they are. I'm laughing because I barely have a shirt on, because summer in Arizona, and you've got sleeves and look, oh.
Well, I'm in an office building, so it's always over air conditioned, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, I was
Yeah.
thinking the same thing. I should have put a little thing over top. Um, so you and I had what, 5 or 10 minutes of conversation.
Mhm.
And I found out that you own several businesses. And like me, you are also connected to real estate, but kind of on the commercial side of things. But
Mhm.
the one that specifically Rick mentioned was the one about coffee. So
Mhm.
tell everybody about this venture.
So I own a coffee shop. We've been open just over a year, and it's called Constellation Coffee. And this is more of a passion for me than my other businesses. I mean, you do work or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, my son is on the autism spectrum,
Okay.
and he has done quite well from the time that we found out to now. This kid has been through every therapy known to man.
Mm,
There's only one that he hasn't gone through, and they said, "Yeah, he's too high functioning. Don't it won't really
don't do
help him."
that. Okay.
So between that and we've been able to facilitate literally training his schools to deal with the autism because he didn't go to public school. I sent him to private schools because I
Okay.
felt that I could get a little bit more control, maybe is what
Hmm.
you'd say, a little bit more input than I would in a public school.
Right.
And so my deal with the public school is I'm going to provide you with all the resources to help this kid because they do not have to accept special needs kids.
Ah,
So he went to a small Catholic elementary school, a small middle Catholic middle school, and then a Lutheran high school. So part of it was if I can train the staff and the children in a school, and I always pick small
smaller
schools.
schools. Okay.
Um, the idea was that if we let the kids in on the secret, then they take possession of it, and
Oh.
which was lovely because when you see a child that has a special need and they do something quirky,
Hmm.
another child looks at them like, the heck's going on
Like,
there,
what are they
right?
doing? Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what are they doing? They don't understand it. And so they're ripe for the picking for
Hmm.
being teased.
Teasing. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted to prevent that. So we did everything we could to, I mean, literally, I brought in autism experts and educated his class, and then it was the school, and it was the teachers,
Wow.
and he had the most wonderful um, experience in school because we just
Wow.
broke the barrier down. It wasn't there anymore, and then everybody took possession of him. And if he
And did you
was have,
start this at the elementary school? Because I kind of feel like little kids are all cool. And
yeah,
then there's this place where it changes. And I don't know if that's third grade or fifth grade or what. But did you start with the younger classes?
oh yeah, we started with the elementary school and all the way up to senior high. So
Wow.
it was an effort, right? But I think it was worth it, and I really wish we had the ability to do that with every child. And
Yeah,
obviously
no
we don't,
kidding.
but it really made a difference. Now, that's a little bit off the beaten track, but when Maddie graduated from high school in 2019, he had to take off a couple of years to have some medical procedures done. And then it was right in the middle of COVID. So
Yeah.
he took 2 years off, but until he entered college at Landmark College in Putney, Vermont, we did research on opening up a coffee shop that would employ special needs kids because
Oh,
the whole idea was most kids didn't have the advantage that Maddie had. They didn't have a stubborn mother. I had a full-time nanny, and between the two of us, we researched therapies and anything that would help this kid, anything.
right.
So he had, and plus a father, right? His
Yeah.
father jumped in as well. We just happened to be the ones that were super persistent about it.
Yeah.
And we thought we needed to give back to kids that didn't have those
Wow.
advantages.
So is then the Constellation Coffee, is it a nonprofit or are you giving back by employing? Like,
Currently, we're for profit.
okay,
I'm going to turn it into a nonprofit because I also have a foundation, and then the foundation can feed the nonprofit. And then after I'm dead and gone, the coffee shop can still keep going. So it
interesting.
can be perpetual.
So, because when I was young, we just said somebody was autistic. That was it. Like there was
Right.
no on the spectrum, different levels of measuring. There was no words to even describe what those were
Right.
and things like that. So, and again, as a kid, you're just like, they seem a little different.
Hmm.
And then it can turn into teasing or bullying or any of those things.
Right.
So when you hire young people with disabilities, are you looking at Down syndrome, wheelchair? Like what kind of is the range of who you might employ?
Initially the thought was kids on the spectrum, right?
Yep.
Because it was
Yep.
sort of the deal. But anybody that walked in to fill out the application, if they had a different disability, that was okay too. It doesn't matter. I
Yeah.
can only employ so many people, and
Oh, of course you can
yeah, we try to overemploy. And believe me, if I could employ
employ
everybody, I would.
everybody.
Yeah, certainly would.
Yeah.
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 So
Interesting.
I've got a Down syndrome young man, and he's joyful. I've got a young man that's much more physically disabled.
Hmm.
But we try to make sure that all of these, and I say kids because
Yeah.
they're
It's
younger
up.
than I am.
Yeah.
So
I do that too. Yeah.
I try to make sure that all of these kids are cross-trained in the making coffee, making drinks, washing tables, doing the register, everything, because so many of them get pigeonholed in, well, they can clean the tables and
And
that's all
that's
they
it.
can do.
Right.
Well, these kids are more than capable if given the chance and the guidance.
Yeah.
Um, you're going to find this incredibly hokey, but it kind of goes along with that whole up with people hokiness, right? Um, yeah, one of my little guilty pleasures a couple of years ago, as I was getting up at 6 o'clock and getting things moving, I turned the TV on, and I found an old television station called and Touched by an Angel was on, right?
Oh,
So I started watching it every morning as I was making coffee for myself. And there was one episode where the young man that had Down syndrome, that he was kind of a famous actor. He was on Life Goes On, I think it was.
yeah.
Anyway, you'd recognize him.
Yeah.
In about the
Yeah.
80s, he was fairly popular. And he was a special needs angel, right? And he said something that hit me right in the heart.
Oh.
He said, people look at me and all they can see is what I can't do.
Mm.
I was
Yeah.
like, that's it. We're going to
Yeah.
look at all these people and what they can do, not what they
Yeah.
can't do.
Yeah. So, a couple of things which my brain always, that's why none of these turned out the same, Liza. Um, so our sermon series at church has been based on movies and things like that. And last week it was about Shrek. And so she's playing, and I'm I'm in a predominantly senior church. I mean, there's some people in their 40s and there's kids, but there's a lot of retirees here. And so who's seen Shrek and did they see it with their grandkids or, whatever the case may be. But in what they played, it was about how an ogre is supposed to be scary.
Mhm.
And so the sermon turned into how do we judge based on what we see? And
Right.
it was great, I thought, because no matter what, we all do it. Even if
Yeah,
we even if
absolutely.
we think we don't. And it might be for me, it might be I was on the train in Chicago and kids were going to Lollapalooza and I'm like, you don't even have clothes on. How would I be as a girl mom? Like, like that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So I know we all do it. And there's there's also this idea that there's a young man in town here who is nonverbal, and
Mhm.
his mom is a realtor and has been posting recently. They have discovered something that has allowed him in the last year to express himself. And
Lovely.
he can't speak it, but he's smart. And it's like
Mhm.
this
Mhm.
person inside has emerged to the point where he is now a Mormon missionary. They're an LDS family,
Ooh.
and he's at home, but he's able to do everything he does by writing it. And you're just like, for 18 years, we didn't
Mhm.
know if he even understood us,
Right.
let
Right.
alone
You
could
don't.
write poetry and all of that. So I
Yeah.
just think finding the key, right, to unlock what it is. So, do you have anybody, this is going to sound, do you have anybody that is in there on a regular basis who does not have some sort of a disability? Do you have like a manager or does pretty much
Oh,
everything, you know?
no, no, no. Managers, absolutely.
Okay.
So, my son's nanny that helped me with this, she's my general manager. So she had to kind of she had the experience to help a disabled person or
Yeah.
a special
Yeah.
needs person.
Special needs
And she's
person.
got the patience of a saint. But she had to learn the restaurant business, right? And I haven't
Oh,
been in the restaurant business for 40 years,
right,
50
right.
years, 45, whatever it was.
A long
Anyways,
time.
a long time ago. I used to be the cast cook, let me tell you, where you
Ah.
had to do something on a little hot plate, right, for the whole whatever.
Yeah.
Um, so, and I've got a assistant manager and a shift manager that are also typical. So they help guide. They don't do the work. They try not to do the work. We pull them back if they are. The work is done by the students or the
Hmm.
children, and
Yeah.
they guide them and they
Yeah.
coach them. And if they're doing something that's not correct, they'll pull them back and say, let's start that drink over. You
Hmm.
need to follow the recipe or whatever it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So they coach them. And what has happened is I have a stable staff. They've almost all been with me for a year. We started out super slow so
Hmm.
that these kids wouldn't get overwhelmed by the crowds
Crowd
when they
come. Yep.
started to come in.
Yeah. Yep.
And now we have slow days or super busy days, and they don't get flustered and they can handle it. And
Wow.
the maturity that has come in these students, I knew it would make a difference. I had no idea.
How big of a
No
difference.
idea. Yeah.
Mm, that's very cool. That's
Yeah.
very cool. And do did you create a like these are the positions we need
Nope.
and then search to fill them, or at any level when someone came in, was your mind going, oh, they might be good at this? So I'm just going to throw this out there. Might
Mhm.
there be a greeter who can greet people at the door but not do anything else, that kind of thing, and stuff like that? So how did that?
Possibly, yeah, possibly in the future. Right now,
Yeah.
because we haven't been open that long, a year,
Yeah.
we have to function. We have to
Yeah.
understand what we're doing. So everybody is cross-trained. I had one young lady that we tried to do a little bit more with, and all she could really do was the dishes, and I feel really bad about it. But there was something, I don't know exactly what was wrong with her, but she had some brain damage. So her short-term memory was so bad that
Oh,
she could hardly wash dishes, right? She couldn't
wow.
remember where the soap was. I mean, it was
Yeah.
so there's a certain amount of things you have to function to,
Yeah.
right?
You have to be able to do. So when you opened,
Hmm.
was there advertising around this, or
Nope.
did people just come in and they were surprised?
Pretty much they came in and they're surprised. So I I opened it in a building that I own with my brother. We used to have a bank here. I'm very involved with the city of Apple Valley, Minnesota, in and out. I've done a lot of land development here. So people know my family and have known me for many, many years.
Yeah.
So the chamber was behind us, and would put things out. The Rotary, all these organizations that knew us would kind of word of mouth.
Yeah.
And then we were lucky enough to have a couple different. Sorry, I'm laughing because my people are going by with the with the trash, and they stop at my desk and they wave to me as they're going to the trash bin. Um, so I got to wave.
That's
Um, so we were lucky enough to get PR from a couple television stations that did something on in the fall of last year. They did kind of a coffee connection type thing, and we did a small kind of opening there. And then in the spring, in March, Fox 9 News did their whole morning program at the coffee shop. And this
okay.
chamber did a huge blast on it. So we got a ton of, everybody keeps still, they come in and go, I didn't know this was here. Oh my goodness, I didn't know it's here. So, and we're very, very thoughtful on how we put this coffee shop together. My intent was to help the employees. So I put special acoustics in, and I put rubber tile in instead of, clangy tile. Because I was thinking, a lot of
What's
kids
it going to
have
do to,
sensory
yeah.
issues,
Yep. Yep.
and we had themes of the constellations. So constellations are planets and stars that all are connected, right? And when the stars align, anything can happen.
Mm.
So all these things we put together, we knew I can't dampen the sound of the coffee makers, right? They're going to be there, but
They're
we
going to
do
be,
provide, whether it's earphones or
oh,
earplugs, right? We try to accommodate as much as we can. And what's happened is that the customers like it. There's no loud blaring music. They can come and sit and have coffee and talk. Um, my staff is just wonderful. They'll all of a sudden out of the blue come out and say, how's your coffee? I really like my favorite is this or whatever it is, right? I mean, it's really gotten to be a community event, and that's really what I wanted it to be,
yeah.
because not only am I able to provide jobs for these individuals, I'm able to educate the community
Mm.
on these kids, right?
Yeah.
And then it's a place that everybody can gather. I'm not the big users, right? I'm not the national
Right, right,
chains.
right. Not,
This
yeah,
isn't all about getting in here fast and getting
right.
out of here fast. It's
I was
about
I was
community.
thinking that when you said, if you make it wrong or,
Mhm.
whatever, there is it's funny and it's not funny. There's on TikTok, there's this baby that they put into all these different situations, and the
Mhm.
baby is one day going to work at Starbucks, and
Mhm.
and somebody comes in and you hear the voice ordering everything, and all the baby says is I quit. I would be like, I could be that way on this, this thing. So where do you get your coffee beans and things like that? How did you
Well,
source that?
we get, it was very important for me. My thought is if I wouldn't put it in my child's mouth, I'm not going to put it in yours.
Okay,
So we have organic coffee beans. Our distributor's tiny footprint up in Minneapolis. He does his own roasting. He gets it from Guatemala, all different places, right?
fun.
And we get a blend. So we get that. Carrie did a lot. That's my manager. Carrie did a lot of research on the syrups. So we have syrups that are organic that have no dyes in them, and they're made out of sugar cane, so no artificial anything in
Sweeteners.
preservatives.
Okay.
Absolutely not. I've got a gluten-free bakery up in Maple Grove that we go get product from because
I was going to
of
ask you about baked goods. Okay.
exactly about, I'd say 40% of kids that are on the spectrum or special needs kids have allergies and a lot
Mm,
to gluten, right? So I,
okay.
I have beautiful gluten-free product. Lunds and Byerly's, which is a big grocery store here, I did a deal with them. They're very generous on giving me access to their bakery. And so I get those items, some
Nice.
of them, but I have a brand new baker in Lakeville, Minnesota, called Kiev Bakery. She's from Kiev, in Ukraine. She's a
Okay.
lovely, oh my goodness, she uses all organic products. So we do what we can to make it as
Local and
well
healthy.
as local and healthy as coffee and
Yeah.
sugar can be.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's really neat. I'm in a networking group, a BNI group, and I don't know if you know what BNI, Business Networking International, and we just had a coffee guy join. Literally, he paid his money last night or today. And his is online and his roaster's in California, but he's a veteran and all of the coffees are named for different planes.
Sure,
So the images on the are that plane. Now, if you're not an Air Force guy, you may not know, but it's still kind of fun. Um and then he's giving a percentage back to
sure.
veterans, I think for emotional pet support, I think,
That would make sense. Yeah.
that's what he's doing from that perspective. So that's super interesting. Oh, it's I don't remember if I told you this on the phone, but I think I did because we were talking about Mike Bowie, about
Yes.
why I started doing these and who are the everyday heroes and what does that look like? Because Up With People gives out everyday hero awards,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Yep.
And with 22,873 alumni, and I just made that number up, I just know it's under 23,000. You know, around the world, there are people everywhere doing great things and
Hmm.
doing special things. Often, like yourself, they come from a place that's near and dear to our hearts, right?
Yep.
The blood donor who constantly gives blood because both mom and dad needed blood.
Right.
The child who maybe doesn't have limbs or so,
Hmm.
it's just
Hmm.
it's fascinating what and how and why. And some of it predates Up With People. Some of it
Sure.
is who we were before we ever went on the road. And some of us, for me, it's been a life journey. I support the National Alliance of Mental Illness because I have a son that's schizophrenic
Sure.
and I'm still limited in what I can do, right?
Right. Right.
Um, but the 18-year-old that traveled and Up With People wouldn't have thought about that.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and why. So I think that's
We've
very
had we've had extraordinary experiences, you and I, and every other alumni, right? And we all have things that you go, oh my God, that made such a difference in my life. I remember one of the first really heartbreaking or intense things that happened on the road. I don't even remember where we were, but it was a mental institution to
mm,
really say it, right? And these kids had helmets and they're hitting their head on the
yep.
wall, and we're trying to sing and we're trying to relate to them. And I remember coming out to the bus in tears.
Mm.
And
We
then,
performed at one in Colorado.
yeah,
The
yeah.
hospital
And
there.
one of my castmates in really bad taste jumped in the seat next to me and imitating
One of the
them.
people. Oh,
Right.
wow.
Right. He did it to break the tension and to
Right,
make me
right,
laugh.
right,
Right. So it wasn't done out of ill intention.
right,
And it made me kind of laugh and it shook me out of it. But it was such an intense moment, right? You talk about everyday heroes. That's not myself and it's not you. It's not Mike Bowie. It's not any of
right.
us. These kids are everyday heroes.
Yeah,
These kids are what makes it happen.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's really neat. So, well, you
But don't tell
answered.
Mike Bowie I said that.
One of the one of the things that I often ask at the end of this is, did you go to a country that you would love to go back to again? But you can't say Italy if you went there, okay? Because everybody does. And is there any place that you haven't been in this world that you would really like to go?
Oh my goodness. There's a lot of places that I'd love to go. I just don't seem to have the time these days. Um, I had a lovely time in England. It was different. I loved England. I loved Sweden. I loved no, Northern Europe
Yeah.
is just lovely. Um, you know, there's a lot of places if I had the opportunity
Yeah.
and the time.
All
I
right. What
certainly
about food? Was there anything that you ate that you'll never eat again, or vice versa, that you ate and you learned to love it?
would. No, I had a pretty sophisticated palate, so that wasn't an issue by any means. Although I'm trying to think it might have been in England because their food isn't necessarily as spicy or dramatic. It's pretty
Well, the
every
blood
day.
sausages and all that
Yeah,
stuff were a little weird for me.
right, right. That might be. And I probably stayed away from something like that,
Yeah.
right? But for the most part,
Yeah.
we had lovely host families, we had lovely food. I probably made the worst of it, when we were cooking with the cast because they give me this crazy little kitchen that I was like, what am I supposed to do here and cook for 125 people? But I'll tell you what, I got off the road. And when I got married, several years later, I couldn't cook for less than 100. I mean, I always have leftovers, and because I can't cook for two, I have to cook for a
A
great
bunch.
deal of people.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, that's
Yeah.
funny. So I used to bake in everybody's
Mhm.
house, and I'm looking to see how many minutes. My book, my first journal, has recipes from everywhere, and one of them, an apricot brandy pound cake, I still love. I still make for, I don't remember where it came from or who it came from, but I literally made some not that long ago, and I I think about the same thing. I would go into people's houses and I would immediately ask if I could bake something. And I'm like, I was kind of pushy as but then the cast got used to it too, and they knew there would be treats, and I would decorate a cake for. So I didn't do the whole shebang, but just funny what we did. So,
Yeah.
well, any parting words to share or
No, all I can think of, like I said, I just am the lucky one to be able to do this. And I know there's probably thousands of people that would like to do what I'm doing that just doesn't have the
yeah.
resources or the time or the place or something, right? I wish we could all do it
Do it.
because we
Yeah.
learn such vital lessons when we are on the road,
Yeah.
and seeing the world. To this day, I will say to people, the world needs up with people.
Yeah.
It'll be better
As
now
much now
today.
as we did then. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Probably more in a way. And
Yeah.
it's just, I don't,
I love you had said that we had extraordinary experiences, and I love
we
that.
did.
So
Yeah,
I'm going to end the recording. We have 2 minutes. I want to share one other thing with you
sure.
when we hang up. I always call this hanging up because I feel like I'm plunking down the phone. But thank you, Liza. I appreciate you taking the
Absolutely.
time.
Yeah, absolutely.